Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Geeks Not Nerds Live. I'm Captain Logan, and tonight it's just me and Eric.
It's just us.
Yeah. So, how's it going, everybody? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. If you're watching live, thanks for watching after the fact. If you're doing that, as always, we're going to jump right into a topic for you, and then we'll have some other fun segments a little bit later on, including the open forum at the end. So, think about things you might like us to talk about toward the end, things going on in pop culture news, or just questions you're burdened to ask us, topics you just can't wait to hear us talk about, and we will talk about those things a little bit later. Tonight's topic is, and Eric, I got to pull up the person who asked this because I looked at my notes and I went, oh, I was busy with things a minute ago, and my notes were not complete, and I did not write down the exact question or the name of the person, and then I hit the broadcast button, and I was like, oh, well, too late now. Now we're thick of it. But tonight's question, I'm almost there. It's good. That's good topic music there, Eric. That's great.
Well, that's the.
Why didn't you score it? You should have scored game shows.
That's the we're having technical difficulties music.
Or you do like the Offspring intermission music. Da 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 da.
I was thinking of the Welcome to Americana.
Oh yeah, but that's on Americana. Yeah.
Whenever I would throw that,
I think the intermission music is from Smash, is it not? Or no, maybe that is Americana. I think that actually is Americana.
Whenever I would throw that album onto my MP3 player, that would be in the middle of the songs. In the middle of it would just go, "Welcome, Americana."
Well, and like I like that with Team BG's Flood from 1990, because they have this opening track. It's like, it's a brand new album for 19. I'm like, it's fun to put that in the middle of things. It's amazing. Carl Maxey asks, which comic book character has the saddest background? Now, in the title, I put superhero. I thought it would be maybe more interesting to just make the superheroes as opposed to villains, because of course.
Oh yeah.
I mean, trying to figure out like just the character in all of comics. It's already going to be hard enough with superheroes.
Yeah.
And we can talk about villains for a second too, if he really wants us to do that. But he says, I say the Punisher, but others say Johnny Blaze, Spider-Man, or Batman, and different answers than those. Thoughts to the panel can settle in the debate. Well, Eric and I are the panel tonight, so we will. So let's start with superheroes, and then maybe we can work our way to some other characters. Because I think most tragic maybe this is another video at some point, but I think most tragic backstory, the tragiciest backstory for supporting characters could also be really interesting. But what is the first character that comes to mind?
Okay, so I have two, tentatively a third one. Skirt the line under the superhero qualification.
Because Punisher is not really a superhero.
I give it to Punisher. He's got a costume. That is my divided. The Hulk is also not a superhero, but he is because he's in the Marvel.
Okay, but the difference is sometimes the Hulk is a superhero. I mean, like, I guess there's variations with the Punisher when he's using like rubber bullets and stuff, or when he just decides
when he's not really the Punisher.
Yeah, when he's just not really that character, but legitimately, this movie. No, Hulk's a superhero.
Yeah. Okay, so my instant go-to, saddest backstory.
Okay.
Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Do I have to say more? I mean, you can pick the movie or the comic book. They're slightly different. They're both.
You mean the TV show? But yeah,
the TV show or the comic are both the saddest origin.
It's pretty rough. Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of win when your origin starts with it's your fault somebody dies. Like. That tends to
that's TV show. That is not the comics.
Okay, and I haven't read the comics, so I don't know. But
I should be getting those back. We should be able to do them.
Okay, we will. That'll be
my finger gun.
That'll be great. But yeah, I mean, like
it's just a blur on the camera.
Characters who and of course a lot of characters find ways to blame themselves for whatever it was that led them to superheroes in the first place. But the characters where you can kind of see that blame and even like. You agree with them to some degree. I almost feel like some of those rise to the top immediately. I mean, I wouldn't put Spider-Man over Jessica Jones, but
Jessica Jones, I think wins in my head solely for emotional scarring from the event moving forward, beyond just like somebody died. Like people die every day. you move past that, even if it's kind of your fault. He would in the case of Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica Jones that's something she'll never psychologically fully recover from. That's my first pick.
Okay, my first pick is Wolverine.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And the big reason I immediately go to Wolverine is because he gets it twice when you look at Old Man Logan. Because, like, those become, like, slightly different characters where, like Old Man Logan is the old Wolverine, and then he has, like, a reinvention where there's a new tragic backstory that makes him the hero that he is at this point, and, like, he killed all his friends, and, like, that's pretty rough. You know, he was forced to kill all of his friends, or duped into doing that, but then, of course, the Wolverine from before,
Wolverine actually gets it 3 times. So you have origin.
Yeah. Well, no, that's true. That origin itself is a tragic backstory. Okay. Weapon X.
Then you have all of the Weapon X stuff and the blanket with the memories.
Yeah.
And then you have when he gets his memories back.
Yeah.
And he finds out he was a terrible person.
Yeah, that's even worse.
He gets it 3 times
because he's been on this road and doesn't even know what he needs to redeem himself for. Really, you know the whole "I'm not an animal" thing, and then it turns out no, you really were just an animal.
Mm. I would say Wolverine gets it 3 times.
Yeah, and then 4 if you can, when you can have Logan. And so like some of the reason I thought of Wolverine in the first place is just sheer volume. Just the sheer number of times he has a major tragic backstory.
Yep.
Nathan Snyder says pretty much a majority of X-Men. And I mean, you know, obviously most of your superheroes have some kind of a horrible thing in their past that leads them to do the thing they do. You're talking about extreme personalities.
Well, you're talking about Saddest.
Yeah, sure.
I think
sad and tragic are somewhat synonyms. But.
Well, I mean, Cyclops' backstory is hilariously tragic because there's the whole thing where, like, his parents put like
I always have
to
be reminded what in the world Cyclops even is.
Okay, so the plane's going down. Havoc and Cyclops are there. Their parents push him out, and as far as they know, the plane crashed, explode out of his face. But then years later, he finds out his dad didn't die. He just left and became a space pirate.
Well, I'm glad you're alive, but. You know, maybe a Christmas card. You know, had to go off and abandon me.
Look, it's really hard to keep track of when Christmas is. Would
you rather your parents die or be negligent? You know, it's that's a hard balancing act. Which is worse?
My second, that's the more tentative kind of not a superhero. John Constantine.
Yeah. Yeah, and I figured you'd go there.
The whole of just he was a punk teenager who sent a girl to hell, and it messed him up so bad he commits himself to an insane asylum, and he never really gets better or even really learns his lesson, and he just keeps repeating those mistakes over and over, and everyone he knows dies. That's really sad.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I'm having a hard time coming up with a better one than Wolverine. Like everything else, I'm thinking. Well, I mean, Spawn's on.
It should be.
You know, I mean, like...
Which version of Spawns?
Well, yeah, sure, we just keep retconning it. And like, we don't make it more tragic and retcon it. We just make him less sympathetic. Yep. Every time it's retconned, he's just more of a bad person.
Yep.
You know, like you want Al Simmons, that's a tough tightrope, right? Where he has to be... he has to be bad enough and skilled enough at killing that he would be thought to be... grabbed by hell, but it's also supposed to be a romance, and you're supposed to care about the romance. So that's really rough. But I mean, I always felt like that whole backstory was really manufactured.
Yeah. Maybe Solar Surfer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know what? He ranks up there.
Yeah.
Most certainly.
He's got a really good story.
And I love his.
Yeah,
because he's so sympathetic. I mean, like that is a huge tragic sacrifice. And yet he's still responsible for the death of millions of people. But then is he, because Galactus would have found somebody else and would have done that? And so I love the inherent ethics.
That is doing
questions in that. Yeah. Okay, that's a really good one. Yeah, that's definitely up there. Let's see what some other folks are saying. Nathan Snyder says Martian Manhunter is really sad. Yeah, sure. Martian Manhunter is Superman if he was there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, except that it's also it's even worse. That's just natural disaster. I mean, like, it sucks that with Krypton. I mean, like, it sucks that that your world leaders didn't pay attention to your father and didn't do anything to try lose your entire race to some more sinister race.
Well, the thing about Superman is people are trying to act like Superman's backstory is a tragic backstory.
It is for Supergirl. Kara's backstory is a tragic backstory.
But for Superman, he was a baby.
Yeah.
He doesn't, like, I can understand what happened in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have an emotional impact on me the way it would Ebro. And that's the thing with Superman is, but he doesn't remember any of that.
And I feel like sometimes it's played as really tragic, and there's kind of understanding of basic human psychology sometimes there, where if Superman, like if Clark Kent is a kid, like it's played in Man of Steel, is a really broody character, and he's got that he's kind of conflicted. It's not so much because of exactly what happened to his planet, but I mean, partly because he was abandoned, but more because he is the only. I mean, he would think he's abandoned. That's not what happens, of course. But it would be more because he's different. Mm-hmm. It would be like Superman isn't all that different from like a mutant in X-Men who is dropped off on somebody else's door.
Mm.
Yeah. And so it comes a lot more from his power set and his difficulty fitting in. If that's the version you're going with, the outcast. And once he finds out about it, maybe it's kind of sad, but it's much worse for Kara.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. Hers is exactly the same, but she was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the TV show, that's almost worse because she's stuck in the Phantom Zone for a long time. But I like Martian Manhunter as a choice. That's like that. What is the Question's backstory? Does he not have one?
Kind of.
Okay.
He does initially, and then he kind of gets a second origin.
Somebody brought up Rorschach, and that reminded me of the Question.
Well, Rorschach's, it's not his origin that's sad. I guess it is a little bit. But he already becomes. It's not super. It happens later.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Invincible is really sad. But do you know Invincible's backstory?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Invincible's dad is Superman of that world, and he's part of the Justice League of that world. And Invincible grows up, and he's going to be his dad. And then it turns out his dad is a warlord and murders the entire Justice League and tries to take over the world.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hey, can I say Arthur in the new Tick show?
Sure.
That one's pretty tragic.
Yeah, it's pretty tragic. Oh, you sad poor man.
And we're gonna do that pretty soon.
Yes,
on the pilot for that. We want to make sure to get that out before the show finally starts.
Yep.
We don't have a date for that yet. I'm assuming
the date of the show proper.
Yeah, when they release the rest of the episodes, I don't know if they're shooting it yet. So we might not have until fall. I'm hoping.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I'm hoping it doesn't take that long. I'm hoping it's not a whole year from when we got to see that. But,
yeah.
But yeah, that's a really sad backstory, but also hard not to laugh at with the absurdity of that show.
Yeah.
And you just feel like a monster laughing at it because it's like the terror and the ice cream and like you got nothing and the same shit that he's playing with falls on his father. Oh boy, yeah, it's I just love Edlin.
I do too.
If I could, I'm into a place right now where if I could sit down and talk to any creator right now, it would be Edlin.
So, do you want to jump over to villains? You want to talk about some villain origins?
Yeah, and then we'll Count Von Count. Mr. Incredible is kind of sad. Yeah, it's a bad choice. Marvel Zombies because it's an origin for a new. Oh yeah, well, and especially Hank. Really sad. You should finally sit down and read that.
I will at some point.
Carl Maxey says Doctor Strange, but I don't know if Doctor Strange's origin is any more tragic than Iron Man's, or
I think it's less tragic than Iron Man's.
You think so?
He just becomes a better person. Like Iron Man's.
I mean, he loses his hands, but then he kind of gets them back. At least with
with Iron Man, you're abducted by terrorists. You're tortured. The person that's mentoring you dies. Like
it's a little more traumatic.
Yeah.
Certainly. Well, and what would you say in the Marvel movies? Let's forget the TV shows, because obviously those are all about.
Is it Jessica Jones?
A lot of those are damaged characters. And yeah, let's we'll forget about those for a minute. But in the movies, the films we've had on screen, who think has the most tragic or the saddest backstory?
Hank Pym.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because that's one of the last movies.
Yeah, well, and I thought that I have things about that movie that I think they could have changed it slightly that would have made it a better movie, but it would have made his story sadder.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it could have used that.
And I kept as a sad origin with the death of Bucky and with losing all that time. That's inherently sad origin.
I mean, I've always said this, but they make it sillier by having him have no reason to have to crash that plane.
Yeah.
So you get stuck in ice in a really manufactured kind of way.
Right. Comic book
Captain America a little bit more, yeah. They find ways to make that real tragic. I mean, I think once you get to Winter Soldier, it's a lot worse.
Yeah.
But most of the problems I have with his movies are about that origin.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and talk about villains for a little bit.
All right. So here's a big one.
And of course, Deadpool's is certainly.
Oh yeah, especially in the comics.
Yeah.
Because he's driven insane.
Mm-hmm. And that gives him kind of a one-up on Wolverine, except there's kind of an interesting argument to be had about like what is worse, having your memories wiped of the events and then getting them back, or remembering it the whole time and being a crazy person.
Yeah.
The fact that there hasn't been like an ongoing, and I know Wolverine's technically dead right now, and I wouldn't want to do this with, well, maybe I would want to see this with Logan, but the fact that there hasn't been an ongoing Deadpool Wolverine comic seems like a crying shame to me.
I don't think Wolverine would put up with his crap.
Well, okay,
he hates Deadpool.
Okay, but I also don't think. Yeah, but if you could find a way to contrive it where you bought it, where there was a reason that they had to be together, maybe even just a miniseries. I mean,
that's the excuse they use every time Deadpool's anywhere.
Yeah,
we contrived a reason that you bought it, that he was on the Avengers.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like, I can. But my point is, I can buy. I could be made to buy a situation. I'm not going to sit here and try to come up with one, but I could be made to buy a situation.
You drop them both in the Savage Land.
Those two have to work together. Maybe it's not an ongoing. Maybe it's a miniseries, like I said. Before I buy them on the freaking event, before I buy Captain America, going,
this guy's good.
This guy's okay. Yeah, it's like, no, all those assassinations don't matter. All the matter to you.
Look, my best friend was an assassin. Let's not lump all assassins into.
But I don't know.
Take them with the one brush.
That seems like it could be such an interesting.
Yeah. It is surprising we haven't gotten a mini.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, so
the big villain.
Oh, the thing's a good answer too.
The big, most tragic villain.
Mm-hmm.
Galactus.
Yeah.
The entire universe dies around him.
Uh-huh.
That's left with insatiable hunger.
Yeah, and all he was trying to do was explore the cosmos. Like, that's kind of sad. He was just an explorer. He's like
kind of Reed Richards.
It's tragic Star Trek.
Yeah.
It's like you're paying. You saw it, G. Like you're paying for your arrogance and your hubris. Like, all you want to do is go out there and find out what's out there and learn all you can, but you're not ready for. You're not ready for the horrors that await you, and then he becomes one of the horrors, one of the worst of them.
Now, probably the easiest pick, I think, for villains is Magneto.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of right there,
especially once you stuff in there.
Yeah,
because he doesn't start with that.
No, he's just a bad guy.
Yeah, at the beginning.
Charles, I disagree.
Certain versions of the Joker's backstory, I guess.
Yeah. Dr. Doom. Because...
But like, I guess this is the same with superheroes too, but so many villain origins seem like kind of cut and paste, right? Like copy paste.
Well, his starts with hubris, but there's also that whole thing about
him. I think he's
about his mom
pick.
being in hell, and no, Dr. Doom's got a really, really messed up backstory.
Well, I like Loki's.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I would definitely consider like his backstory.
Well,
he's the unliked child.
Yeah, I just mean being put in a place where it's hard for him to fight his own nature. I mean, you have that with a lot of bad guys, of course, but where like Odin kind of sets him up for failure. Like, I feel like the saddest, this is maybe an obvious thing to say, saddest backstories for villains would make, I think if you found the most sympathetic villains, the ones that you most appreciate, even though you can't condone what they do, they probably have the saddest backstories.
Yeah, probably. I mean, this is going to depend on era and backstory, but certainly Lex Luthor in a lot of cases,
especially, and that's the next place I was about to go. Yeah, in like I don't know. Weirdly, quite a few Superman villains are kind of like just people who get kind of the raw end of the stick. And obviously a lot of Spider-Man villains,
and a lot of Batman villains.
Well, villains. When you take them from the comics and put them in the movies, a lot of those are just kind of, like bank robbers and crooks. And
obviously talking about TV and movies, Purple Man, Jessica Jones and Purple Man.
Oh, yeah.
Or Purple Man and Jessica Jones. Not so much the comic, but what they do with them in the show.
Harvey Dent, much of the time.
Yep, Harvey Dent. Clayface, a lot of the Clayfaces.
Yep, that was the place I was going to go. Violator, no. Violator's backstory is...
I don't recall.
Because he's got these other brothers, and he just wants to be like the worst of them. And I don't know, it's hilarious. I like doing like relative badness with villains. It's kind of fun. Well, what I was gonna say is it's kind of fun when I don't mean that kind of relative. A group of people where everybody agrees we should all be evil, and then you're talking about relative good within a pantheon of evil. I think that's kind of fun. So like he gets the raw end of the deal, but he's still evil.
Now the obvious answer to character with the sad backstory, all encompassing, is Eeyore, right?
Oliver Queen mentions, this is probably not the real Oliver Queen. Oliver Queen mentions Chronicle. The main character from Chronicle. Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
And of course, that's a super villain movie before it's a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Well, any other names you want to throw out? Any other final thoughts you want to do before we go ahead and go on to rants? This is kind of just it's kind of a topic of just throwing out names, which is fun. I was
comic book, but not superhero.
Yeah.
Jesse Custer and Preacher. I know you read that stuff, but he has one of the most messed up, weird backstories.
I always feel bad for Foggy Nelson. I feel like
I think he's more put upon than he is tragic.
Well, and I don't even know if it's not even backstory so much as just like all he wants to do is be able to, like, he's in a way that a lot of love interests aren't with superheroes, where like you totally understand why he wants Daredevil to hang it up. And he always did, and he just won't do it. He refuses to. But like he's always stuck again, kind of holding the short end of the stick, where Matt Murdock's never there for him, and he's always having to go into court and not have his ducks in a row. And we don't show that side of like non-costume sidekicks a lot of the time. Like Clark Kent never screws up Jimmy Olsen's life. Like
what, the big character that we missed, tragic backstory?
Yeah,
dead man. He has to die. I don't know his backstory is, but he dies. It's pretty sad. Pretty sad that your backstory is you die.
Well, I mean,
a lot of times it's other people dying. With him, it's he died.
Once again, Spawn has that.
It's true. It's right.
Let's go ahead and go on to rants. Eric, what is your rant for today, sir?
Okay, so this one's not terribly topical. I wish I'd saved this for when it would be topical, but I'm going to throw it out here because I'm having another rant right now. But it comes from a conversation Cap and I were having the other day.
Topical on Friday, then?
No.
Oh, it wasn't even topical on Friday.
No,
okay.
No. It would be. It'll be a couple of months before it's topical.
It's not topical yet. Well, that's unusual.
But
I'm gonna throw out a rant that everyone's gonna be making later.
It started with conversations too of, you know what bothers me is the Oscar for best screenplay.
Oh yeah,
I'm doing another writing one. So the thing about best screenplay is that it's nothing to do with the screenplay. It's about the words on the screen. If you liked the story of a film, you give them best screenplay. Thing about the process of filmmaking, a lot of time there's improvising. Improvisation. That's the word I couldn't think of. Improvisation, changes to the script. We were having a discussion about getting best screenplay. Is it the final draft, or if you're rewriting it like on set? Like, let's say the rumors are true that Ben Affleck is rewriting Justice League on set right now. Like, because that's what the rumor is that he is rewriting that on the day. Is it the script that we get to at the end of the movie that he's writing, or is it the final draft of the screenplay, the shooting script?
Seems more likely Terrio gets that Oscar.
Yeah.
Not that movie is labeled for an Oscar.
I'm just using that as an example because I know this was a big thing with MASH. A lot of comedies in the 70s, 80s, like Ghostbusters, was they had lines, and then they kind of wrote it as they went. The MASH screenplay has nothing to do with the MASH film, but it got best screenplay because people loved that movie.
You should have to at least take a cursory glance of the script and make sure that the words they're nominating were on paper. Otherwise, there should be an improvisation. There should either be an improvisation Oscar, or I could see that. Mm-hmm. There should be. I mean, it gets technical. You have to know how the movie was made, but maybe you should to some degree.
If you're nominating best screen, and we constantly hear about films that had great screenplays that got mucked up in editing, or just it was poorly directed.
Yeah, a movie should be able. That's a great point. A movie should be able to win best screenplay, even if that's not what made it onto the.
Even if it's a bad movie.
Yeah, even if the
script is good,
I agree with that.
Be able to win best screenplay.
I agree with that. And then you publish that screenplay and it sells 1 million copies. But the other thing I was going to say is, at the very least, if basically what you're saying is not screen, like you use the word screenplay, but what you're really meaning is the words on the screen. Mm-hmm. Okay, then everybody who puts words on the screen should be getting an Oscar.
Yeah,
ergo, if Ghostbusters had won that Oscar, all 4 of those guys should be getting Oscars.
Yeah,
along with the
Ivan Reitman.
Ivan Reitman and
Egon.
Yeah, I can't think of names right now. Yeah,
but
suddenly names are not coming.
But yeah, so I think best screenplay is a sham.
Yeah, clearly.
I mean, they don't matter, but within all of that, the category of best screenplay really bugs me because it means nothing. People.
Thank you, Harold Ramis. Connor, why aren't you here?
Yeah.
Now Connor said he had to work late, so he must be slacking off.
They are getting awards for. A lot of people are getting awards for things that they aren't.
Red Leader. Sometimes you're in the moment and you just names fly out of your head.
Yeah. But people are getting awards for things that they shouldn't have gotten awards for, and people that should be getting those awards are not getting those awards. The movie turned out bad. But sometimes you get a really good screenplay and a bad movie. Sometimes you get a really good movie and a bad screenplay. One of the classic examples, and this isn't an Oscar contender, but John Landis talks about Beverly Hills Cop and how when he got it, it was the worst read. But they made it work. If that had been an Oscar movie, you wouldn't want that to win Best Screenplay.
Yeah. Bring up Best Adapted Screenplay.
Which we talked about a little bit when I was talking about,
Yeah. Goofy that is, too.
Yeah. But, yeah, so that
Connor says structural stuff also comes from a screenplay, but sometimes the structure gets changed, in editing too.
A lot of times structure gets changed.
Isn't there? I don't think there is. If there's not an editing, there should be. Oh, okay, good. Well, I'm glad there ought to be. Certainly.
But yeah. A lot of times structure doesn't. A lot of times the structure of a screenplay is changed. If you listen to commentaries, you'll constantly hear people saying, we didn't really know if this scene should go here or if we should, open the movie with this scene and stuff like that. So yeah, another good example is Iron Man. Though I keep seeing the two guys that wrote the first Iron Man, they're getting put on projects, and people are like, it's the writers of Iron Man. If you know anything about the production of Iron Man, that film was not written.
Yeah.
They broke down scenes and they improvised.
And then they intentionally made the second one the same way.
Yeah.
To varying results.
Those guys should not get to carry on their reputation and be like, oh man, the guys that wrote Iron Man are going to write this movie.
Yeah, from the makers of Iron Man.
Now they may be fine. Maybe the script for Iron Man was really good. Maybe they are fine writers. But if that movie had gotten nominated for Best Screenplay, that wouldn't have been right.
And some of what we're complaining about are semantics, right? Because all you have to do is change the name of it, no matter how you made the thing. Like, when we talk about a song being... When we talk about a song being written, a lot of writers don't actually write the song down when they're writing the song. They'll write it later, but they're actually plucking at their guitar. Well, that's not that different from making it up as you go along while you're filming. So I mean, it is. You're not doing that in the recording room, but you see what I mean. For best screenplay, there should be a physical.
It should be about the screenplay.
It should be about the words you put on paper. Yeah. So just don't call it that.
Yeah.
You need some other name.
Yeah.
But I think it would be much better if instead of a different name, they actually just did it right.
Yeah.
Because I think that is a fair offer.
I agree.
You have to do extra research.
And you know it's fair if bad movies with
and we had this conversation. Yes, and when we had this conversation the other day, and it might to change the medium for the better, where we go, oh, this was a great screenplay, but the movie didn't get made that way. What happened? It won an Oscar. Why did the movie also win a Razzie?
Yeah,
But we also, when we were talking about this,
we all know what happened with Catwoman.
When we were talking about this the other day, we also talked about soundtracks.
Yes.
And how, well, it makes sense that you wouldn't have to necessarily go back and listen to the CD of the score in order to...
Because it's how it informs the film.
Because it's how it informs the film, and you have the amount of it that matters is in the film. It kind of doesn't matter if there was any extra bits of it, but screenplay is a different thing. You should have to at least inspect it.
Yeah. It's not best words, it's best screenplay.
Yeah. Mom, you're 170. Captain Logan, do you consider Amazing Books to be a film? If so, you were obligated to do. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
Sorry, I'm not.
Amazing Books.
The Amazing Bulk. I'm not sure what we're talking about.
The Amazing Bulk.
I don't know what that is.
It's a really bad thing that somebody made and put out on straight to DVD, and it's a superhero movie.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I would argue that does not count as a film, but you might have some.
Oh, okay. We'll do open forum a little later. Yeah. Okay. My rant is okay. So I think I have figured something out, Eric. I think I have figured out.
Now here's the thing. This also comes from a conversation we had, but I don't remember what it is.
Okay. So I'm going to say a word, and you will immediately go, "Oh yes, that's right. This was the rant you're going to do. You're going to extend it." So.
Yep.
So I think I have figured out why the DC movies are called the DC Extended Universe instead of the cinematic universe with Marvel, and it's because post Man of Steel, it looks like maybe they're all going to get extended cuts. I think it's hilarious that so far we've had, and that's of course a joke, I'm being facetious, but it will be interesting if gets one, if Justice League also gets one. But
they will if they're poorly received.
Unless they're smarter about they leave on the cutting room floor, like they could just not cut as much, and then there wouldn't be enough to be accepted. But okay, so I'll say this first before I go into what I was really going to rant about, which is I can't tell how much of that is a strategy. I can't tell if there's not quite a bit of footage intentionally left on the cutting room floor, so if the movies aren't well received, they can put out a separate product and try to make some of that money back when it's released. But then the problem with that theory is, well, then why wouldn't you rework the cut? Why are we just adding scenes in to what, by and large, is already there? Because there was a lot of talk when the BVS Extended cut came out that was supposed to be like a different experience. That it was supposed to be like things would get moved around and recut film, and maybe it ought to have been. And it was mostly just stuff added back in, and some of what was added in was good and made it a little bit better. But I also thought that it made the movie drag a lot, and I think there could have been It
didn't work for the pacing.
It definitely didn't work for the pacing, and there could have been a recut version of that.
I know it's already out for digital download, but we've not seen the Suicide Squad.
We haven't seen the Suicide Squad,
and that's a film that needs to go back to the drawing board and be recut from the ground.
It's crazy to just add things back into that.
And everything I've heard is that they just add things back in.
Yeah,
it is not actually
that's what everybody's
cut. It's just extended.
So that's my real rant, which is what counts canonically now.
Yep.
And I've talked about this before, but I wanted to do a whole rant on it because I feel like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't on this. I always said, oh, good, Marvel's not doing extended cuts.
And Joss Whedon made a big deal with Age of Ultron where people asked, are you going to do an extended cut? And he said no.
Yeah, I think
the film is the film.
Putting deleted scenes on the DVD is fine. Show us what you didn't put in. But it is confusing to people when you have things that are put into a version of the movie that you sit down and you watch through that may or may not count as being part of the continuity in the world that you've established. So
one of the things that has been talked about with Suicide Squad, again, we haven't seen it yet, is that there is more Joker and Harley stuff.
Right.
Does that inform all future films, or is it only the stuff that we got in theaters?
And again, we've talked about this a little bit, but yeah, if you had more Joker later, did that stuff happen or did it not happen? But here's the damned if you do part, okay? If you do later make it really clear, because there's a part of me that wants to say, okay, do it one time so that you can tell us that the ones that really count are the extended cuts. So in a theatrical version, you have a callback or a reference or even a major plot point that you need one of those scenes that happen in the thing you rented or you bought in order to understand what you're looking at. So then we would know for sure that everything they put on film that is part of a structured release matters. Okay, the problem with that is that's not fair to the people that just see it in the theater. I don't think it's fair to ask everybody to watch a longer version, and like with us, with what we do, we feel like we do. But like a lot of people aren't even gonna notice the extended cuts. They're not gonna expect that it would matter, that it would be part of the the ongoing continuity. But especially when you add back in as much as they did with like, again, not as big of a deal when it's a standalone or even just a franchise where there's just
or if you don't know
one set of characters. Yeah, but when you're talking about this larger ended thing, maybe they should have called it the expanded universe.
No, because that's Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
I'm already bothered.
Yeah,
that's true. Extended because I see
because it's EU again. Yeah, no, I forgot.
Expanded
I forgot about the whole expanded universe thing. I don't know what I was thinking.
But yeah, no, it's.
Isn't it at the very least? Isn't it awkward?
Because there are lots of people that are only seeing these films in theaters.
Yeah.
If something like that is a plot point later on, they're going to be lost.
If it never is, it's not as big of a deal.
Or if they do,
but are they going to keep? Are we going to expect them to keep up with that? And then the other thing is, the talk heads of Warners have been, well, we're kind of reinventing every time. How they've been told, where it's all in the same universe, but each of them has, and this sounded when this press release came out, it sounded, and I forget who it was. I don't even have a source right now, but we talked about this when it happened. Yeah, no, but like one of the producers or one of the heads of one of the heads at Warner's, one of the studio executives was talking, was suggesting that supposed to kind of feel different because they're in different genres, and it felt like a cop out, so that you could retcon whatever people didn't like when your movies come out and get 28% on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know what the point is of having a big expanded universe if we're just going to kind of pretend like we're reinventing the wheel every time. Because BVS feels like a slight, soft reboot from Man of Steel.
Suicide Squad doesn't have anything to do with any of that stuff.
Yeah, so it's easier.
Yeah.
We can get away with that.
Yeah.
I mean, to Suicide Squad's credit, and so far that's the one I think I've liked the best.
Yeah.
Retroactively now,
but if the Joker shows up, he's
like,
completely different.
Loved more than I do now. But yeah.
Inventing every time. Everyone didn't like Jared Leto's Joker. Well, next time we use the Joker, he's going to be a completely different character.
Yeah.
He'll have a completely different design.
I guess we'll see. I mean, obviously now we're into a distinction.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like that there are extended cuts. I don't like that at all.
The other thing that I would be more okay with is if they did the thing that we do sometimes. This has happened with a couple of films. Spawn's one of them. If they put out the extended cut and that's the only version they put out. Timeline, people will forget what wasn't there in the first place and in the theater. We talked about with Daredevil director's cut.
Yeah,
it's hard to remember what's actually in the normal Daredevil.
We watched that one so much. Yeah.
If they did that, I wouldn't love it, but it's better.
It wouldn't bother me as much if we hadn't done it twice in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wanted to give B pass on it, especially before I saw their director's their extended cut, because it felt necessary. There were all these gaps where I didn't understand what was going on, and I was like, and then when I watched it, I was like, yeah, some of these things need to be put back in, especially, and you've talked about this, but especially the thing with what exactly they thought Superman had done at that war zone. Oh, they thought he uses heat vision, not a gun. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, that should have been it, but that should have been there from the first place. I understand why things have to be cut from films a lot of the time, and much of the time you'll look at a DVD and you'll go, oh, okay, I know why that was cut.
Mm-hmm.
That it drags the pacing, kind of pointless, or self-indulgent. You know, you'll see a scene where a director just really liked this idea and it didn't pan out, it didn't fit, but it has felt arbitrary what has been cut from some of these movies, and even Man of Steel I think maybe has some of that.
Yeah.
And so we just need to be more logical about how we put these movies together in the first place. I mean, the real problem is that we're cutting as much as we are, and that you can tell that if you, with a lot of the stuff that we're finding out about, with a lot of these extra scenes, we're finding out that, oh, you could make a movie that was put together in a much more straightforward and logical kind of way.
Suicide Squad,
especially. Why don't we just trust the material, trust the director?
Because they're
more.
Panicking.
What's that?
Because they're panicking.
Yeah.
They have no idea what. Yeah. Every single movie, they're like, oh man, they didn't like that one. The next one will be completely different. Oh man, they didn't like that one. The next one will be completely different.
And I've said this before, but like, you need to hire a director to make a movie. I mean, that seems to be the problem with Flash right now. That they keep losing directors because I imagine because they're not allowing the directors to make their movie.
And they haven't built an infrastructure like Marvel has, where Marvel did do that at the beginning, and now they're not really doing it.
Yeah.
They're getting directors that will give them the film that they want to see. I mean, Guardians is certainly James Gunn's vision.
But they're also having more faith in their directors. Like yeah, there's mandates. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some Marvel that Marvel's saying, and you heard Favreau get frustrated about some of this.
Especially Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2, and that's why he didn't come back to make the third one. But
and Iron Man 3 is a Shane Black movie.
But I thought it was really classy of him to come back to be in the movie. And he's supposed to be in Ragnarok.
Oh, is he? Well, that's cool.
I saw something about Hogan. I saw something about Hogan. I think he's in that.
Spider-Man as well.
Maybe I'm thinking Spider. No, I think it is Spider-Man.
Okay, yeah, he's going to be in the scene with Tony.
Okay, forget what I said. Yeah, I thought it was Ragnarok. No, you're right. It is Spider-Man.
That'd be nuts.
That'd be nuts.
Happy Hogan just showed up in Ragnarok.
That'd be awesome.
Who are you? I'm Tony Stark's friend. All right, come with me.
I mean, I've said this before, but like they need to stop thinking so much about what people want and find a director that has a passion and a vision, and take the risk that there are enough people out there that will like what that guy wants.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you tell a story, you know, and you just find that like there's business, there's strategy. You have to find somebody that will make something that is accessible enough. But this is the obvious go-to with Marvel, but like nobody knew if Guardians was going to be a thing that would appeal to a large group of people, you know, that would be widely accessible. And all James Gunn had made before are movies that do not appeal to a wide range of people.
Yeah, they're very niche.
And it manipulates people in the best way possible. It's I mean that's a dirty word, but it's you know I've always said this. You can win people over. You know, I don't know then was as maybe to a degree it was tapping into something that was already there, but I think it was inventing fans of that thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what DC needs to do. But anyway, all right, let's go ahead and go on now before we do open forum to geekiest thing you did this week. And with Eric. Eric, what is the geekiest thing that you did this week? And then everybody feel free to write down the geekiest thing you did this week, and we'll read some of our favorites. Go ahead.
All right, so this could be a slash geekiest thing slash
rant.
Cheapskate. I bought a movie this week.
Oh, good job.
I bought the Ronan Kenshin film.
This is pretty geeky.
So I found it for $2.99 because it is the Japanese release of the Blu-ray. Luckily, Japanese Blu-rays play in American Blu-ray players. I didn't open it yet. I just got it yesterday.
Oh, is there not a region issue?
No, there's not a region issue. We were on the same region as Japan in Blu-ray.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that's nice. So, do Blu-rays have regions?
I think so, but I think they're larger. I think there's like 3 regions.
Oh, okay. All right.
But so,
Nice.
I found it for $3. This film before from places and released. It was released domestically in America, but it's like $30. And I found this, and I checked the back. English subtitles. Check. I'm gonna buy this movie. Now, it does run the risk of, and because I'm watching it, I'm not sure. It runs the risk of some English subtitles. There's a little bit of nonsense. I have a DVD. I have a commentary DVD that has that. There's a character on a motorcycle that drives up, puts his hand out, and says, "Get in the car." But so yeah, the geekiest thing I did was I like kind of flipped when I was like, $3 for Rurouni Kenshin. I'm sold. So that is the geekiest thing I did this week.
A couple weeks ago, Eric and I made a video game sampler video about Marvel pinball machines, and I have not been able to get enough Marvel pinball since then. And the geekiest thing I did this week is I played the Venom one for probably a couple hours just by itself, and was trying to master that machine, and I got 28 million on that machine. I felt really good about it. So that's the most points I've gotten on one of those pinball machines. And when you look at like the leaderboards online, a lot of those are like 200 million, 300 million. Like I haven't gotten that insane yet. But I will probably get there. But anyway, so yeah,
there will be no videos.
I got excited about my 28 million score on the Venom pinball machine. Also, I want to mention this. Somebody the other day brought up pinball program that I found on PS4 today that I might start getting things for that has digital versions of real pinball machines.
Oh.
And it goes back to especially like the Terminator machine is on there, cool. Which is a great machine, and the Next Generation machine is there, which is a really good machine. And as soon as I found those, I was like, oh, I kind of want to do that. They're more expensive per table, but they're more involved.
Right.
Because they were full blown, real life tables.
Right. So that's cool.
Yeah, even more involved. Maybe some of them are more involved. But I'm thinking about getting into that for a few of them because there's a couple. I should look and see what exactly they have because like the Stargate machine was really good. The Maverick machine, I know that's weird, but there was a Maverick machine I found on that movie. That's one of the best machines I've ever played. And the Jurassic Park machine is amazing.
Oh, cool.
The T-Rex head comes up and grabs and eats the ball.
That's awesome.
Cool. Okay, let's see if anybody else did. Everybody just wants to talk about BVS and stuff. Andrew Follett, geekiest thing I did this week was buy Aquaman for LEGO Dimensions. It was geeky because no one else would buy him in every store I went to. That's great. I don't have him yet either.
At one point,
but he's really useful because there's a lot of water. There's a lot of in LEGO Dimensions. There's a lot of places we go into big bodies of water and swim down, and there's things you have to do underwater. There's quite a bit of studs to collect, but also just like things you need to do to 100% things. Mm-hmm. And I don't have an underwater character right now, so I need to get him.
I at one point bought a pair of orange Converse with Aquaman on them. Needed one for Aquaman. I bought those. I had those for
tell me about that. I've got Joker ones.
Yeah,
you've seen mine.
Yeah, but everyone got the Joker. Everyone got nobody was buying the Aquaman.
Nobody was buying Aquaman
except for me.
And I would have gotten Riddler if there had been Riddler shoes. I think actually there were, but I didn't. No, there were from Arkham City, but you had to order them online.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't want to order shoes online.
Yeah.
The reverse negative TV, the geekiest thing I've done in a while was argue that SpongeBob SquarePants is more ready than Bonesaw McGraw. More ready. Bonesaw lost and obviously wasn't ready. SpongeBob is ready for whatever happens. That's a good one. Cool. Eric, Jaime, geekiest thing I did was watch the entire X-Men film series in sequential, including flashbacks, starting with the post-credit scene of Days of Future Past. That's pretty geeky.
That is pretty geeky.
In chronological order. That's pretty good.
Starting with the post-credit scene of Days of Future Past. Oh, because it's Apocalypse in Egypt.
Oh! Wow,
okay.
That's
okay.
Boy, that's out there. Okay,
so wait. Here's my question, because I have a question.
Not in continuity. Continuity, right?
Well, that's my question. If you're watching in the chronological order,
yeah.
Do you watch First Class?
Well, no, that probably still happened in the original timeline. I would assume there would have been nothing to change that.
But what my question is, do you watch First Class and then all the present day scenes of Days of Future Past, and then get into X1 and X2, because that's not the same timeline.
Well, and you wouldn't watch all the. You wouldn't watch just the present day scenes in or present day. I mean, it's not even present day, but like, yeah.
How would you do that? Because it's two timelines. There's at least two. Old Man or no Man.
Well,
X-Men Origins Wolverine doesn't fit with anything. How would you watch that?
And you can't watch the 70s stuff in Days of Future Past and then watch past it, because that has been changed.
Yeah.
So I mean, you wouldn't do that.
Yeah. How did you do that?
But watching like the future scenes in, I don't know where you fit the.
Well, you would put them Wolverine
after the Wolverine. Yeah.
None of that.
You can't.
That doesn't make
sense. Put it all together.
That doesn't make sense.
I don't that. Mom, you're 170. I watched Geekvolution. It's pretty geeky. It's in the word. It's in the name. Geekvolution. Graffin61. Geek thing I did this week was listen to the Tick Marathon podcast.
Really?
While playing BioShock on Thanksgiving. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that was entertaining enough to watch twice, because we finished that and Eric was like, no one's going to want to watch that.
No one's going to want to watch it.
Well,
let alone twice.
Well, thank you.
First time live?
Good question. Yeah. Twice. Eric Jaime, original timeline till Days of Future Past, time travel.
So it would be Apocalypse?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on.
You mean one pyramid shuffling. Pyramid shuffling
scene of Apocalypse.
Yeah,
X-Men Origins Wolverine. Maybe First Class, but like that kind of vague after Days of Future Past. So maybe, okay. Because Days of Future Past acts like First Class is still mainline continuity, it would be Apocalypse scene, First Class, X-Men Origins Wolverine, 1 through 3, The Wolverine, future scenes, or I guess then you would just watch, and then Apocalypse. That's probably the way that would go. I believe.
So Graffin 61 now says, going back to the Tick thing, this is like the 5th time. It's good background material. You need to do another one of those.
Yeah,
that is currently
the mark, right?
Yeah. When we hit the next $50 milestone on Patreon, another marathon.
How close are
we? We're like 60, 70 away. Because we went back a little bit from the last one, because that fluctuates, of course.
Yeah.
But if it takes a while, we might do another one at 250. Because that was fun. I wouldn't mind doing that again.
Yeah.
Great material. I mean, I hope somebody gives us really cool material, because that was fun to do, because we knew it and because we had to do an entire show. That was great. But yeah, thanks. I'm glad people enjoyed that. A lot more people watched that than we thought would. Yeah. So people were enjoying that. That's great. Manos, geekiest thing I did this week was to write a list of films that should be on the new MST3K. I would like to see that list.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what Manos thinks they should do on that. Because part of my thing is I'd have to go back and see what they did, because I don't know that show well enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to know if Manos picked any things, or if he went back and filled in old things they could have done from the eras they tended to go to.
Well, and it's a bummer, because so many of the newer stuff they've done on Rift Tracks, like doing The Room would be redundant, doing Birdemic would be redundant.
But again, you've at least got one different person there that didn't get to do it last time.
Yeah,
and doing it, having the silhouettes there with the thing, like there's reasons to do some of that stuff again.
Yeah. I mean, The Room and Birdemic are probably the two big ones from the past.
Oh, Manos is making a video of that. Cool.
Oh, cool.
That's a great idea, Manos. Cool.
That's very good.
some other people have mentioned some things, but we need to go ahead and go on to open forum. It's time for the open forum. For the 15 minutes, we are going to answer your questions, talk about other geek topics you'd like us to talk about. Try to leave the really great G&N topics for later, unless you want to insert them here, and then like we did last week, we'll just mention them briefly and try to put those on the list to do down the road.
The answer for all questions about BVS or the DC Universe are no comment.
That's something we haven't talked about yet. It's just that comes up so often. I feel like we
made everyone explode talking about the DC.
No, they weren't exploding. They were just. I mean, yeah.
I can't actually read them from where
there it wasn't like people freaking out and getting upset that we were talking about it again. It was just.
I thought maybe at each other.
Nope.
Okay.
There wasn't arguing or harassing going on. It was just people trying to predict what it's going to look like down the line and trying to decide, just like where we're standing with stuff. With those, but anyway, okay, let's go ahead and get into some things. You know what? There's a couple more geeky things. Let's see. Let's say these real quick because that'll give us time to get some questions here. Philip Kelton, the geekiest thing I did was explain why Prometheus makes plot holes in Aliens because the technology in Prometheus is too advanced. Is that true? Because I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, so
he's gonna make me watch it. This is gonna be one of our he made me watch it.
Yeah. It doesn't make plot holes. It's the Star Trek thing, but backwards. But we use we're
extrapolating from now.
Yeah, which is just something you have to give the science fiction franchise. They have to.
Or I can see the argument. Like, should it just stay throwbacky, or should we go ahead if we're not straight up rebooting? It's a problem because it stops being science fiction in that way and starts being about the continuity and what matters.
And that doesn't work for what Prometheus is trying to do. If it's trying to be a real science fiction film.
If it's bad, give it that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I go back and look at Enterprise and I'm like, nah, you guys made too many creative license choices on a show that by and large wasn't very good. I'd give you that if it was stellar. You know, it's just like when it affects the quality, it's still. I mean, excuse me, not affects the when the quality overall is bad. When it just doesn't come together, and I mean, obviously, Enterprise and Prometheus had different problems. But if it starts to just look like you did that because as opposed to you had a real reason.
Well, it's really Scott. Like, there's a vision for it. Like, it looks great.
Yeah.
I would argue that it works in Prometheus because it's supposed to be. It doesn't. The movie itself doesn't fully work. There's maybe an excuse. I know that movie takes place like 50 years before Alien, but they're an elite team of scientists funded by a company, whereas in Alien, the Nostromo is just they're just minors, so they wouldn't have, there's an excuse you go for. I think it creates plot holes. I think that's stretching.
Connor's geekiest thing. This Black Friday, I bought Daredevil Season 1 on Blu-ray with no discount price, and I already have access to Netflix and have no incentive to go physical because it has no bonus features. So our question is, why? I mean, everybody would understand why I'm going to do that because
I would hold out to see if there's
nonsense.
Special features.
No, there never will be.
There never will be. I was checking House of Cards has no special features either. Orange is the New Black does. House of Cards is not.
It's say there never will. I doubt it. I mean, unless people complain enough that they decide that they should go ahead and put something out. But I would almost released it. It's more likely that if they ever do special features, there'll be things that just show up on Netflix that you can toggle,
or they'll
put out a disc,
a big box set that gives you the special features.
Yeah, where you'd have to buy it again.
Jessica Jones, Luke Cage.
Yeah, but it seems like a thing like that, since they've done a second season of Daredevil, should have already come out.
Well, but they did. You remember when we got to Avengers?
Yeah, we
did Marvel Phase 1. I wouldn't be surprised if we got like Netflix Marvel Phase 1.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, we're still getting special features with all the movies. Like, I read something somewhere that said it had something to do with the distributor, or not the distributor, but like whoever puts those TV discs together as opposed to the movie discs. Like, they never do special features, and I don't know what that's about. But it kind of looks like we're never going to get that.
That sucks.
And those
are shows more than the movies, honestly.
I want to hear those creators talk about it. Yeah, especially because they're making history. They're pushing envelopes. And like some of the stuff they're able to do with a smaller budget is amazing.
Well, I
want to say, okay, I don't know what those shows cost to make, but obviously they don't have the $200-300 million that the Avengers films.
Well, and so often, like, movies come out where you're like, that doesn't need commentary, and the movies come out and you're like, well, nice guys should have commentary. No one cares what the Dark World has to say.
Well, they should at least have a commentary on the pilot and a couple of select episodes.
The Kingpin episode.
You know, and like how much would you want to hear some of those actors, especially in Jessica Jones?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'd love to hear David Tennant.
David Tennant, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, let's go ahead and answer some questions, shall we? Scott Lehrer, who would you cast as Nightwing in DCEU? I'm notoriously horrible at fan casting, so I don't know. I feel like this has come up before, maybe.
10 years ago, it's Peter Petrelli.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Well, I don't know.
No,
he's
too old. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, I got one time I would have said Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think even at this point, he's maybe a little old.
Yeah, he would have made sense at one point.
Well, you know what? He's not too old for this universe.
For this universe, yeah.
Because their Nightwing has got to be 30-something. Pushing 40.
Yeah.
Because they have an older Batman.
We talked about this at work once.
No, let's remember that we need to think about older actors for a lot of these characters at this point because of the counterintuitive move they made to go with a middle-aged Batman.
No, I'm going to stick with Sam Rockwell.
Too old. And I don't think that even makes sense. Like, I don't see Sam Rockwell as a superhero. I don't know, like, why you're even thinking that. Like,
Sam Rockwell's perfect for every role.
No, he's not. Not for it. But the one thing he doesn't do much of is straight up action. Like,
you've not seen Mr. Right.
No, I haven't.
He can do it.
Oh, I haven't seen him do it.
And he can genuinely act if you've seen Moon. And,
well, yeah, no, I know that.
And he's really charming.
No, he can genuinely act if you've seen him in a movie.
Like Nightwing. Grayson, I can see him being charming. He's too old.
But even 20 years ago, I couldn't see it.
Yeah. He's not really
such a weird
he's not really my type.
Okay.
I'm now trying to validate my because that's the first name I popped in my head. I don't know.
And I thought I was bad at fan. I'm just kidding.
No, we came up with a really good one at work for
oh wow, I sit corrected. Red Letter Antilles says the Netflix Defender show has a total budget of $200 million.
What did you say it was?
No, I just said these shows don't have the $200-300 million budgets. The movies do.
Oh,
and he's Defenders.
Well, that's still 200 over 10 hours.
But that's still more money than I would think the entire show would have.
Yeah. Well, and I don't.
But yes, it's not hour to hour.
Well, and that's the big. I don't think Daredevil and Jessica Jones had that kind of budget.
No, definitely not Daredevil. Sure. Mano says Carrie. I totally agree with that. We talked about that the other day.
Yeah.
That she should be a little older. Let's see. 61. Wait, hold on. Someone in my. I don't know that person. Sorry, I don't even. You're not even giving me a name. Sorry, I shouldn't have started talking about this until I'd read it. But Graffin61 was says he wrote Kansas into one of his short stories and knows someone in around here, but I don't know who we're talking about. Okay, let's see here. Looking for more questions.
A quest for questions.
Orpheus, what would you do for a Modern Man origin? Should it focus more on the impact of the bullied Peter Parker and how Peter could possibly have the personality of a school shooter? That's interesting.
Except that different now. I know we keep portraying it in films the way it was in the 80s.
Well, and what he actually makes him the guy from Chronicle, but he learns the responsibility lesson, goes the right way.
Yeah. And he's not bullied at school.
Yeah.
He's a lot of that's self-imposed, and then it happens.
He gets bullied. No, he gets bullied at school.
Does he get bullied?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, remember the Oh yeah, definitely. Because don't forget about the talent show. Because.
Does he get bullied at the talent show?
Well, no, not initially, but then he gets laughed at a lot later on for something that happens after it.
But that's something he did, and that's not the same thing. That's not like the kid that's always getting picked on. He did something in the middle of a party that made everyone laugh at him.
That's not bullying? You're going to say it's not bullying.
It is. No.
If you do a thing that makes people react to you, no, that's still bullying.
Okay, but not in the same way as like what you think of when you think of typical high schooler who just always gets bullied.
Well, there's a lot of different versions of that. Like, there's a lot of things that would get you bullied. Like, he's an outcast and antisocial, and that's why he gets bullied. Well, Peter Parker can have that also.
Yeah.
He's not just bullied because he's nerdy. And if you go back and you read the early Stan Lee comics, it wasn't just because of what he looks like and he's nerdy and what he's into. He doesn't know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
So it's still, as you're saying, to some degree, self-imposed.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't really want to go there.
That doesn't make it
Spider-Man.
okay.
But I don't really want to go there with Spider-Man that, like, oh, he could be a school shooter. I think we did a little bit of that in Amazing.
Yeah, I think we tried to sort of do that in Amazing.
I still think the best version of Spider-Man is Ultimate.
Well, no, actually, we did do that with Amazing because it's a vengeance thing before ability thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I still think the best version of Spider-Man is Ultimate Spider-Man, and like what Bendis does with that character, where he's all of the things. He is aggressively bullied. He's a social outcast, self-imposed. He thinks he's better than everyone. Person, and like that's why he doesn't go down that road. It doesn't really even occur to him to go down that road, which is really the thing with Peter Parker. He's just a good person. So that's not where Spider-Man would go. That's like an Image comic series where you're like, what if Spider-Man was a real person or something like that, or a normal person, I guess.
Because in big letters without putting cheese after it. You can't do that. You can't say because and then not say cheese after it. Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. But in this setting,
why is this great? Because
it's my show. You have to say because cheese. Rose, do you think the Star Wars ongoing will go back to #1? Yes. When they move the stuff after Empire. Also, when do you think they will jump Empire? Well, they have to at some point.
Well, didn't you say Vader basically sets up Empire? Did you say last issue Vader leaves Vader like kind of right before Empire?
I don't remember.
Oh, I thought that's.
I don't remember saying that, but that might be. I forget. Well, and I read that out of context because I haven't read a lot of the issues around it, yet. So I don't remember. I think maybe I forget.
Okay.
But I was a little bit curious about Star Wars continuing on past 25 and not Endward. Maybe it's not a thing that happens until after 8 comes out.
Well, and then they might just jump to after 6, which is what I'm waiting for.
I'm a little surprised that those...
We're telling stories that matter.
I'm a little surprised that those have gone as long as they have, and this is a credit to Marvel, without being renumbered already, because all the Marvel Now question mark or exclamation point stuff has not managed...
Now?
Maybe it was last Thursday, I don't know. Now... Question mark. Maybe what I was going to say is most of that stuff hasn't been able to get past 12 and 14, and Star Wars #1 sold 1 million copies. Seeing them starting over in order to try to money milk a #1 again, and I'm surprised they haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
But they've had so many new ongoings and minis where they've been able to get #1s out there that I'm sure many of which I'm sure have sold in the 70 to 80 range. So
now,
I guess I don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure when that'll happen.
But they will renumber when they jump. If they jumped after Empire, if they jumped after, they will renumber.
And they haven't had that .1 thing or the big #1 thing yet on any of those issues.
Yeah. That's big fancy #1.
Let's do one or two more if there is anything else. Red Leader issue sets up the status quo for Empire, at least with Azai being his new second in command. Yeah, that's right.
That was the question.
No, I know, but that was something we were talking about a minute ago. You were asking if it set up Empire, so I wanted to read that real quick. Okay. Mr. Mass, do you guys think Wonder Woman will be financially successful after the poor reception of DC's other films? Yes, I do, and I don't think it won't do probably the numbers they want it to, and I don't know if they'll adjust based on how not great those have been going compared to their numbers. They should adjust it to some degree, but yeah, because it's the character people have been waiting to see on film for a long time.
It could be the worst movie on the planet.
It'll still
could be Catwoman,
do okay,
and it will still do well, at least financially.
I mean, again, well is real relative, and I predict it does probably Suicide Squad numbers.
I don't know what the budget is. I would imagine you put more of a budget in your Wonder Woman movie than you do your Suicide Squad movie.
I would think. And that compared to BVS, I think did better for them. relative to its budget, I think. I mean, or into its projections, I think.
I think it did too.
But yeah, I think Wonder Woman, again, relative to its budget, I think will do.
Do you think Wonder Woman is the last character that we get on screen that like people are dying to see? That like this is when is the final day for
as far as just
the mainstream
characters?
public? For Marvel too. Like mainstream public, the last character that is a surefire. We know this character. It will make
because
money.
it should have happened already.
Yeah.
I mean, before the TV show, I would have said Flash is one of those.
Yeah, but he's got a TV show.
But now not so much. Aquaman for some people, but not anything like to that degree. Yeah. But I think he's got a better reputation now than he used to.
But I do think that Wonder Woman could.
I honestly think they maybe should have put Aquaman out before Wonder Woman. Just again, retroactively looking at how poorly these have been received, just because this is a fool me once kind of scenario down the road. After, especially if people don't like Wonder Woman and if good, because I think Justice League also has the same thing that Wonder Woman's going to have, where even if Wonder Woman, if people think it's terrible,
they'll still go see Justice League.
Yeah,
they have 2 more movies,
but after that,
before this all really starts setting in financially,
you won't have that with the Superman season.
Wonder Woman could be hurt by BBS and to people. My general read is, if you're not just excited by the fact that like Wonder Woman, no, like I don't know very many
because
people.
BVS didn't get people excited for it.
Yeah, we were excited, but yeah, you're right. The general public, most people I talked to were like,
no, but I just mean after they see it.
No, I'm talking about going into Wonder Woman. Everyone I know that's excited for that movie is excited because it's a Wonder Woman movie. Oh, Wonder Woman's finally getting a movie. I'm really excited. Everyone else I'm talking to, no one seems to really care. Like, yeah, Wonder Woman movie's coming out. I guess that's great.
Well, and it's interesting because when you get all of the characters that Marvel's bringing us that you maybe never thought would get movies, you're an Ant-Man, you're and even Doctor Strange, your general audience that doesn't read comics, they're not surprised now. It looks like money milking. It looks like, okay, that's the fad right now. Of course, every superhero you've ever heard, even if Wonder Woman is a character they've heard of more than they had heard of those characters, they're not thinking, a lot of those people aren't thinking in DC movies, they're thinking superheroes. And like, Wonder Woman's getting a movie.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's not even a big deal. So like, it needs to be great, partly because of that. And then become another. I know. Argue that would have been a good jumping off point for a expansion.
Do you remember why he left the project? Because he wanted to do it, period, and they said no, it has to be.
Yeah, that's right, and now it is. Yeah, isn't that ridiculous? No, I hadn't heard that. All I read was they didn't like his script.
He said creative differences because he wanted to do a period piece film, and they wanted to do a modern day film.
That's interesting.
Yep.
And then they did a super lackluster Green Lantern film trying to start their universe.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that's going to be it for us tonight. Thanks a lot for sure. Appreciate it. And we will be back with you again next Sunday night for another one. Tomorrow night, join Eric and I and the Curious Low for a new episode of All New Comic Late Night. What's up?
No, I'm just reading comments while you're talking.
Oh, sorry. And we will be with you at 10 o'clock tomorrow night for that. In the meantime, thanks a lot for watching. I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
And we will see you again next time.
Bye.